The memory hits me like a punch to the chest every time I see silver catch the light. My sister died when I was 6. She was 17, all nail polish and band posters, and that laugh that could fill up our entire house. We weren't particularly close. Not the way sisters are supposed to be in movies, but she was there. And then she wasn't. After the funeral, which exists in my mind as nothing more than a blur of black clothes and hushed voices, my sister became something else entirely. A saint. A perfect angel who could do no wrong, whose memory my mother polished until it gleamed brighter than any reality ever could. I was 12 when I found it. I'd been rummaging through the boxes in the attic, the ones that held what remained of her short life, hair ties that still smelled faintly of her shampoo, notebooks filled with teenage angst poetry. And there, in a small jewelry box covered in peeling stickers, was a simple silver ring with a tiny stone. Nothing expensive, nothing that would catch a jeweler's eye, but when I slipped it onto my finger, it fit perfectly. I don't know what possessed me to take it. There was no dramatic moment of realization, no tearful ceremony. I simply closed my fist around it and walked downstairs, and somehow it became mine. For 7 years, I kept it in a small box beside my bed, not wearing it daily, not flaunting it, just knowing it was there. On the hardest days, when the weight of being the sister who lived pressed down on my chest, I'd hold it and remember her laugh. It was the one thing that felt like ours. Not my mother's sanitized version of her memory, not the perfect daughter who existed only in stories told at family gatherings. Just her and me and this tiny circle of silver that connected us across the years. Last weekend, everything shattered. We were having one of those obligatory family lunches, the kind where everyone pretends we're closer than we actually are. My brother Marcus had brought his girlfriend Sarah, and there was an electricity in the air that everyone could feel. We all knew what was coming. Sure enough, halfway through dessert, Marcus stood up. His hands were shaking slightly as he launched into a speech about love and forever and finding your person. Sarah's eyes were already welling up with tears, her hands pressed to her chest in that universal gesture of overwhelming joy. And then he pulled out the ring. My ring, her ring. The silver band caught the afternoon light streaming through the dining room window, and for a moment I couldn't breathe. The stone, that tiny, imperfect stone I'd memorized over 7 years, winked at me like it was mocking me. The room erupted in applause and tears. Sarah sobbed yes before Marcus even finished his question. Everyone was standing, hugging, celebrating. And I sat frozen in my chair, staring at my sister's ring on another woman's finger, feeling like I was drowning in plain sight. I caught my mother's eye across the table. She was beaming, but when she saw my expression, something flickered across her face. Not guilt, recognition. She knew. She knew exactly what she'd done. The celebration swirled around us as I followed her into the kitchen on unsteady legs. "That's her ring," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Mom was already loading dishes into the dishwasher, her movements sharp and efficient. "Yes," she said without looking up. "Marcus asked your father and me if he could use it. We thought it was sweet, symbolic. She would have wanted it passed down." "But it was never yours to give." The words came out strangled. "I've had it for years." She finally turned to face me, and I saw something I'd never seen before. Not embarrassment, not regret, but irritation, as if I was being unreasonable. "Oh, come on," she said, waving a dish towel dismissively. "It's just a ring. Don't be so dramatic." Just a ring. The words hit me like a slap. When I had treasured it, held it on my worst days, used it to feel connected to the sister I barely remembered, then it was precious, meaningful, irreplaceable. But now that she wanted to give it away, it was just a ring. Something inside me snapped. I waited until people started migrating outside for coffee and after-dinner drinks. Marcus was showing off the ring to our cousins, Sarah glowing beside him as everyone admired her hand. I pulled him aside, away from the crowd. "I want it back," I said quietly. He laughed, actually laughed. "What? What are you talking about?" The ring. I've had it for 7 years. Mom gave away something that wasn't hers to give. His expression shifted from confusion to anger so quickly it gave me whiplash. Are you kidding me right now? You're seriously going to try to ruin my proposal over this? I'm not trying to ruin anything. I just want... No. His voice was getting louder, and I could see Sarah glancing over nervously. You're being selfish. You're making this about you, like you always do. The accusation stung because it felt so unfair. When had I ever made anything about me? I'd spent my entire life in the shadows, the sister who lived while the perfect one died, the daughter who could never measure up to a memory. Then I'll tell Sarah where it came from, I said, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. I'll let her decide if she wants to wear a ring that was taken from someone else. Marcus's face went white, then red. You wouldn't dare. But before I could respond, Mom appeared at my elbow, her fingers digging into my arm. What's going on here? Everyone's noticing that you're not happy. You left dinner early, and now you're causing a scene. I almost laughed. I'd left dinner early because I'd spent 20 minutes crying in the bathroom, trying to pull myself together enough to get through the rest of the evening. But of course, that was my fault too. Dad materialized, trying to play peacekeeper, but Marcus was beyond reasoning with. She's being weird about our sister again, he spat. She's been obsessed for years. It's not healthy. The words cut deeper than anything else he could have said. Obsessed. As if loving her, missing her, wanting to hold on to one small piece of her made me somehow broken. I didn't say another word. I grabbed my coat and left, ignoring Mom's calls behind me, ignoring the confused stares of relatives who couldn't understand why the proposal celebration had suddenly turned tense. The next day, Mom called. Have you calmed down? Are you ready to apologize? Not really, I said, and she hung up. But my cousin Emma texted me later that night. That was actually super messed up. I don't blame you for being upset. Her words were a lifeline in the chaos of doubt that had been swirling in my head. Maybe I wasn't crazy. Maybe I wasn't being dramatic. Maybe, just maybe, my feelings mattered too. But the guilt ate at me. Sarah's joy-filled face haunted my dreams. This was supposed to be the happiest day of her life, and I'd tainted it with my tears and my accusations. Whatever was wrong between my family and me, she didn't deserve to be caught in the crossfire. So I texted her, asked her to meet me for lunch, not to demand the ring back. I'd resigned myself to losing it, but to apologize, to try to explain my side without making her feel worse about wearing it. We met at a little cafe downtown, all awkward small talk and careful politeness. She showed me the ring on her finger, and I had to grip my coffee cup to keep my hands from shaking. It's so pretty, she said, admiring the way the light hit the stone. I know it's not expensive, but the fact that it means so much to Marcus makes it mean so much to me. I stared at her, then at the ring, then back at her. Marcus hadn't told her. He'd given his fiancé a ring with a 7-year history, with grief and love and complicated family dynamics woven into its very metal, and he'd told her nothing. He didn't tell you, I said, and it wasn't a question. Sarah's smile faltered. Tell me what? So I told her everything, about finding the ring, about keeping it, about what it meant to me, about how I'd been blindsided at the proposal, how my mother had given away something that was never hers to give. I tried to keep my voice steady, tried not to make it sound like I was guilt-tripping her, but by the end, we were both near tears. I didn't know, she whispered, sliding the ring off her finger. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. She pressed it into my palm, and for the first time in days I could breathe properly. The silver was warm from her skin, and for a moment I could almost feel my sister's presence again. Sarah drove me back to my friend's house, both of us quiet and shaken. I thought that would be the end of it. Awkward, painful, but resolved. I was wrong. Marcus called me an hour later, and the fury in his voice made me flinch away from the phone. You're selfish, he said without preamble. You're so weird about our sister, and you couldn't let me have one day. One day that wasn't about you and your obsession with someone you barely knew. Each word was a dagger. You were 6 years old when she died. You can't claim some special relationship with her. You don't even remember her properly. I remember enough, I said, but my voice cracked. You've ruined my relationship. You've ruined everything. All over a stupid ring. He hung up before I could respond. When I tried calling my parents, they wouldn't pick up. Finally, Dad called me back, and his voice was heavy with disappointment. I'm disappointed in how you handled this, he said. You've blown up your brother's relationship over a person you barely knew. A person I barely knew. My sister. The girl whose laugh I still heard in my dreams, whose memory I'd carried for more than half my life. To them, my grief was inconvenient. My love was an obsession. My pain was dramatics. Now I'm sitting in my friend's living room, staring at the ring on my finger, wondering if I've destroyed my family over a piece of silver and stone. The weight of it feels different now. Heavier, sadder, more complicated. Part of me knows I'm not the villain in this story. I didn't steal anything. I didn't ruin anyone's proposal out of spite. I just wanted to hold on to the one connection I had to a sister who died too young, whose memory has been shaped and polished by everyone except me. But another part of me wonders if they're right. If I've been holding on to something that was never really mine to begin with. If love can become possession and grief can become selfishness, and maybe I crossed a line I didn't even know existed. The ring catches the light as I turn it on my finger, and I think about my sister. Not the perfect angel my mother remembers, not the ideal daughter in family stories, but the real girl who painted her nails and laughed too loud and left behind nothing but boxes in an attic and a silver ring that somehow found its way to me. I don't know if I'll ever go home again. I don't know if this rift can be healed or if I've lost my family along with everything else. All I know is that right now, in this moment, I'm wearing my sister's ring, and it still fits perfectly. Maybe that has to be enough. That's all for today's story. Hope you enjoyed the ride. If you did, give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button to help me reach my first 1,000 subscribers. It really means a lot. And hey, if you're still craving more drama, mystery, or chaos, check out the next story right here on the screen. See you in the next one.